Is it Jason? How you doing?
Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. Good. I've been watching the videos on the archives.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
And one thing that actually kind of annoyed me, but not that much, because apparently different people on the show have different definitions of agnosticism. So some people will say, oh, well, yeah, those people are agnostic theists. And then Tracy was saying, well, how can you be agnostic theist? That doesn't make any sense. And I define agnostic as ultimate reality can't be known. So we can kind of have an idea, but ultimately we don't really know. So
Sure, but it depends on what you mean by no.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this a number of times, and what kind of definitions, what definitions you use and find useful certainly contribute to whether or not we agree. I would guess, though. I mean, I know even when Tracy and I disagree on what word is best or what description is best, I think we're almost in complete agreement on the actual nature of the universe, how we go about describing it, what labels we find useful and practical. That may differ, and I think that may be the case. I mean, you're going to find that everywhere.
Okay, well, I think I actually agree with you for the most part, though, on agnostic, and I think I'm pretty much atheist, but I just don't really call myself that.
Yeah.
I actually could get into this whole thing, we are the self-aware universe, but I'm not going to. I'll email you about it.
Okay. That's a good prompt, though, because I haven't mentioned the email thing. In addition to the frequently asked questions portion of the webpage, if you don't get through on the phone today or you don't want to, you can email tv@atheist-community.org. That goes to myself, the co-host, some of the people behind the scenes. So thank you for bringing that up, and please continue.
Yeah, it probably goes along with Spinoza's God stuff, because basically nature is God stuff. But anyway, another thing, it actually also bugs me when people call in and ask, saying, do you think people will ever evolve past religion? And I'm sitting here because I kind of understand how evolution works pretty well, so it's I just want to be able to say that no, evolution will not, as long as there are people that are prone to believe in religions still reproducing.
Yeah, and to be, well, I see your point, and I don't necessarily disagree. To be fair, they're not necessarily talking strictly about biological evolution. They may have been talking about it in a more metaphorical sense about the evolution of memes and ideas. I think you're right. Either way, I don't expect, certainly not in my lifetime, I don't know that we could ever truly get rid of religion, because what we're talking about, we may get rid of it in the sense that we understand it now. But what we're really talking about is superstition and an over-reliance on inference and induction rather than deduction and evidence and reason. And the thing is, that reliance on both authority and inference is very useful and practical, especially in rearing young, but also in everyday life. If you had to analyze every decision you made based on every other decision you made,
you'd starve to death.
Yeah, you'd starve. You'd never get anything done. Yeah. And so the reliance on that kind of rule of thumb, general kind of pragmatic sense, your gut feeling, will always be there. And the thing that I think we need to do, which will, I think, eliminate religion in the sense that we view it now. You're never going to completely eliminate flaws and fallacies and superstitions, but is to hone the critical thinking ability of people. Because when you say you're going with your gut, basically you are making a decision based on past experiences, evidence, and your understanding of reality. And if we can fine-tune people's ability to analyze situations critically, to consider evidence that more accurately reflects reality as it actually is, then that builds their gut instinct to the point where it's more reliable, and things like, at least religious in the dogmatic sense, I would hope begin to go away, but not anytime soon.
Well, let me make a comment here. Religions are evolving too.
Yes.
They're changing over time, and they are, I believe, they are effectively adapting towards being more useful in propagating themselves within humans, right? They help meet our our fears and our needs, and as our fears and needs change, they're going to change along with us. So it's kind of like an arms race of some sort.
Yeah, it seems that no matter how science really goes anyway, they're just going to go along with it and just say, oh, well, yeah, we knew that all along anyway.
Yes. That sort of revisionist thing, you see it all the time with the issue of evolution, where at first the church is profoundly against evolution. And by the way, the Church of England is evidently getting ready to offer an apology to Charles Darwin for being a little too robust in their tone against him. And then all of a sudden you get people who've now revised their religion to say, oh, well, of course evolution's true, but that's the way God worked. That's what this passage that we used to interpret literally is actually just kind of, metaphor. But.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great example of it changing, right.
This talking about the evolution of religions actually comes to my other point that I wanted to say about how, I don't know if how much people ask, like, maybe how did religion come about through evolution? And my kind of hypothesis for it is that maybe it's kind of like that supernatural where it's like, oh, well, people will look at these birds and see that these birds do a certain thing every year at the same time, season. Mm-hmm. And so like the seasonal and it really goes along with the agricultural and even before agricultural stuff of just being able to understand what's going on without really understanding what's going on, but they can at least apply it and use it so that they can say, oh, well, the God will bless us in this day, right. And they don't have to know why, but they just know that it does, and so it's like, well, it works, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it really is a very quick way to get people to just say, oh, well, God says so, I guess I better follow along. Okay, I'll be nice to you.
It's a shortcut. Religion is generally a shortcut to get people to take actions without having to provide justifications. It's a shortcut to get people to accept things without doing any thinking. And you're right, this idea of, well, it works for me, so that's good enough. I mean, I've been having a discussion with somebody, and hi, Kat. I've enjoyed it immensely, and we're talking about this in a whole bunch of different areas, and I don't want to go into all of it now, but the basic premise is I have to make decisions for the most part based on my experience. And my point is that, as I mentioned before, we need to hone our experiences and our ability to make those decisions. But the fact of the matter is, at some point or another, it's worked for me every time, and that may be good enough evidence. And that sort of biased, I guess, basis for making decisions is, I think, part of the problem is that people see or think they see or experience some phenomenon. And then because they don't know what the actual cause of the phenomenon is, they attribute a cause. It makes sense. Then the next time they see this similar phenomena, they attribute the same cause because it seems to make sense. And they've never actually established any causal link between these, but the more times they see this phenomenon, and the more times they continue to attribute it to a source, they have essentially conditioned themselves and, for lack of a better word, brainwashed themselves into linking these two things without ever demonstrating any link.
Yeah, and then so you get a bunch of these faith healers that do these magic tricks and say, oh, look, I removed the cancer.
Yeah.
See, look, it's this little piece of dangly meat stuff.
There's a lot of fraud there if you dig around a little bit.
A lot of crazy stuff, including one-eyed blindfolded drivers. But we got full lines, and I know Don's got some stuff to get through. I want to thank you for the call, Jason. We're going to move on to some of the other folks that are working.
I just want to leave with one comment.
Sure.
There are three kinds of lies.
Okay.
Lies, damned lies, and creationism.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
The lies that never quite go away.
The only thing is that you've equated creationism with statistics, and I don't think there are any statistics.
No.
But I like